Hello, welcome back to Aether. This is Satomi and Paul from sakaso.ca. So, yeah, thank you for coming in and joining the conversation. And today is
What does it take to heal? Part 5.
5.
Yes.
Okay.
Episode 82.
So,
Aether.
continuing from like 3 weeks ago. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. We have a little break from this series.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, what does it take to heal? We're focusing on today. What?
So, yeah.
Today?
So today, it's want to focus today on about what it takes in terms of we need to want it, right? We need to be able to bring to the table
Mm-hmm.
in this endeavor, in our work to heal
Mm-hmm.
naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Authentically, to heal ourselves. In order to accomplish that, it means embracing the fullness of what we've got in us.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. We need to bring everything to the table, and be prepared to go for it. And that means it means bringing out the best in ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also means letting go of the parts of ourselves that don't work for us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that means, and that also means the parts of our lives that don't work for us.
Mm-hmm.
That can mean sacrifice of an old way of life, an old even circle of friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? It can mean, that doesn't mean necessarily that each one you say, bye-bye, I'm doing this thing instead. No, you don't do that. What I mean is, this is who you have to at some point, because we all grow up and we learn how to live in an inauthentic way,
Mm-hmm.
right? In a way that conforms to people's expectations,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in order to fit in, because that's so important in our lives as a social species,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a human species, it's so critical for us to fit into the group and we feel to be accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very fundamental to human psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that we end up at certain points in our lives making decisions where we give up our authentic self, who we really are, to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And to be accepted by others. So we're actually going against ourselves, and that sets us up for so much suffering later in life, because when we go against ourselves, we're going against our own power. We're cutting ourselves off from our own power.
Mm-hmm.
We are embracing what, in many cases, is I guess I'll just use the word toxic way
Mm-hmm.
of living.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, if we simply can't express who we really are and how we really feel with the people in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
then we are cutting ourselves off from who we really are, right there, straight up. We can't actually be who we really are.
Mm-hmm.
We have to actually kind of we're presenting a mask. We're wearing a mask for the sake of the other people, because we think that's what they want.
Okay.
We've all had those kind of friends in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've had those kind of relationships with family and that kind of thing, right? And to live that way all the time means we cannot really be in contact with who we really are. And this goes beyond social stuff. I would like to talk about that today
Mm-hmm.
as our example,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not just about that. It also applies to every aspect of our life, right? In order to heal, we need to be our authentic self. There's no other way.
Mm-hmm.
And our authentic self, to embrace that, we need to also dig down and give everything we've got to it. We need to be ready to do that. Now, some people, it's easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, the shift into healing doesn't require giant sacrifice. It's kind of smooth for them.
Okay. So
Other people is not.
you using sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that's accurate in healing.
It's
you
a
look
problematic word, but
it's-
sure, go please.
Yeah.
Please.
So
Yeah.
sacrificing, that means you are giving up something valuable,
Mm.
and then to mend something, to fix something,
Mhm.
and then so it's
To get something else,
to
right?
to get
Yeah.
something else, and then so it's something like the old way of sacrificing is like the live something you give to God. That's what
Yeah.
comes, that where it probably started, right? The sacrifice. And so the part of yeah, part of the power, living power that you have, and you're sacrificing because there are some problems, issues, and you sacrifice it. This is the very valuable stuff. Take it so we can receive what we want,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what I understand what sacrifice is.
Yeah.
And
So
then if you-
let me explain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? It's not the best word that I chose.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to say is, there are times when it's not always the case, but it's fairly common that in order to heal
Mhm.
and we need to be our authentic self to some degree. Well, we have to become closer to our authentic self no matter what. But in some people's case, that means a fairly big adjustment in the way we live our lives.
So
Right?
I agree. It for some people it may look like they're sacrificing something,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end it's not sacrifice. It's just letting go of something that you don't need,
Correct.
and then in as a result you receive what you want, right? So it's not like it's something you're giving up something that's valuable, that it helps you, but you are giving up and letting go. Not that, right? It might feel like it at that moment. So that, I think that's why you're using the word sacrifice. But
Yeah.
I don't want people to think, oh, I have to sacrifice something. No, that's not what we
It's not what
mean.
I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to choose the right words, but I'm glad you really pointed that out, because it is really important, because it actually it tends to feel like a huge sacrifice, right? So and that's because of the illusions that we have, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, we tend to hang on to everything. We just in the way that humans behave, we grab onto everything, and we build our identity and our lives around that. All those things in our lives. So that can be the house that we live in. That can be the relationship that we're in. That can be the friends that we have. That can be money in the bank. That can be the job we have, and the opinions of the people that we work with, or that are friends, right? All those things, so many things that we feel make up the structure of our life that we identify with, and we think that we have to have those things, each and every one of those things, in order to live our lives. So we got a comment here actually from Scott. Thanks, Scott, for sending your comment in here. Really appreciate it. I couldn't agree more with you, because let me read this out here. So I've spent most of my life living like a chameleon of sorts. Forgive my spelling. I've had to modify myself to fit into whatever group I was around, to fit in so much that I forget who I am. And that you hope we understand where you're coming from. And I couldn't understand. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, that's exactly right, Scott. Like a chameleon. Exactly right. We tend to say to ourselves, being out in that moment when we're making that decision, being who we genuinely are isn't as important as what other people feel about us, and being accepted by those people, and getting the social acceptance, status, approval, appreciation, enjoyment of company, right? All that comes with our social identity, all that stuff that comes with our social identity and our social standing. And that's been such a huge part of how humans have evolved and everything, right?
Yeah, so
As
it's
a
like
social
you're with a group of people, and then when you're little, you are just running around in that room, and then they said, "Stop! Don't run around. Everybody's here. You have to sit down." And then you kept running around, and then moment after you're sending out, you are getting kicked out, and you're not allowed to come in. Right? So you being authentic and you just wanted to run around, you were happy, everybody was there and you were happy, or you were expressing your happiness, and that was bad, and so you were kicked out. So to get in, you got shut down your authentic self, and you have to be somebody else, right? So that is like a one moment that you let go of your power, and then you just being like other people, right? And then that happens many times, and then less and less of your authentic power will come up.
And that's always a sad moment, right? When you're a kid and you get rebuked, right? When you get scolded for running around, or whatever you're doing to express yourself, maybe drawing with a crayon on the wall or something, right? Whatever it is. Some of it may not be the best way to express ourselves ultimately, but every time we're told to limit how we express ourselves, we and fall in line, it's always a right? It's always a sad moment. It's always it brings our energy down, and it basically what that can translate into in our minds is we can't be our authentic self. We can't accumulation of those.
We get in trouble
messages.
if I'm being authentic self. Right. So
It's
I
not
have to
safe.
if I have to be this like this. So forget connecting to my feeling, forget connecting to how I want to express what I want to do. Forget that, because every time I do that, I get into trouble, right? So that's that happens, and then we disconnect more and more from our authentic self, and then later on, that creates issues, physical issue and mental, emotional issues. Yeah. So we got that part, and what we're talking about sacrificing. That part is done.
Well,
but I'm just
no, it's going to come through the whole show here.
Sacrificing, like it can look like sacrifice, but at the end, it's not sacrificing. That you had to go through that till to understand. Oh, that wasn't sacrifice. Sometimes, right? Some people get it, like let's say.
So just to be clear, because you're switching gears here. You're not talking about when you're conforming to what people say to, naughty, don't run around. You're switching now to what we were talking earlier,
we're going
where
back to
when you, in order to heal, there's going to be oftentimes a shift in the way we live our lives, and what we oftentimes run into conflict with is that we need to start becoming our authentic self, and that then doesn't feel safe because of the messaging that we got from even when we're very young. Don't be your authentic self. It's not appropriate, not safe. You're not going to fit in anymore. You're not going to be approved of. So that's you're talking about that sacrifice, the parent sacrifice.
Yeah, and any sacrifices in healing that you're talking about the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So it's not actually a sacrifice. Let's say so you disconnect to from your authentic self and you learn to be this kind of person, right? So this kind of person is not you, but that kept you safe, kept you fit in, right? And so that's kind of survival protection mechanism that has been working in you, and so that you feel safe and you feel accepted,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then so, but that action is actually creating some issues because you're not expressing your authentic power. You're disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
You disconnected from your authentic power means you disconnected from your authentic healing power.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Your healing power is in your authentic self, and if you disconnected from your authentic self, you are disconnected from your healing power. So you want to connect to your authentic self, which is your healing power. And to do that, you have to let go of the person you created to fit
That
in,
mask.
to be accepted,
Yes.
and then to connect to your authentic self. But
Yes.
this one is it kept you safe, kept you accepted, and then letting go of that person, yeah, like you said, taking off the mask look scary, and it looks like it is this very, very important part of you, and then it could feel like you're sacrificing and you are killing yourself to right.
Yes. You can feel like you are out there and exposing yourself in a very vulnerable way, and you could be subject to other people's judgment, other people's rejection, and then we're always afraid of that because that can easily align with our own sense of judgment and rejection, and that can be that can be a terrifying experience, right?
Because you live that way for whole your life, and then saying like, let go of that person.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And some people, I mean, a lot of people, we don't have necessarily the biggest circle of friends, right? Maybe the one person you've had in your life for so long that you could depend on, at least for that acceptance and that stability in your life, right? It's just, that can be put at risk if now you're going to start being your authentic self, right? So that's why it feels like a sacrifice, or can, right? And it can be terrifying, and there can be a huge amount of resistance. And so we could go into an example from here, or I can explain some background. What do you think is more effective here?
What background?
Well, there's from that kind of way of living inside that mask, right, is a very general thing. We're talking about the social side of it, but it has many aspects to it. We learn to live as a certain character through our whole lives, and that has certain that character has characteristics, right? It has maybe we feel like we're just impatient, right? Maybe we feel like the world's not fair or something like that, right? These are kind of beliefs that we can take on about ourselves and about the world, and it leads to ways of being that are not necessarily though they're not aligned with our authentic self, right? Because if we think the world is not fair, or if we think the world is dangerous and threatening, then that's not going to be possible for us to be our authentic self, because our authentic self is living in abundance and in harmony, right? So, and so I'm just trying to say that it's bigger than the social thing. We'll come back to the social thing in a minute here. So that way of living and living in conformance to other people's expectations, it's called domestication in Toltec teaching. So people become domesticated just like animals, or pets and cattle and all that stuff. So people actually learn to domesticate themselves.
Or people domesticate other people.
That's true. When you scold somebody and tell them you have to be this way, sit straight and sit down while you're in church or something, right? All those kinds of things, right? Those that's conforming, and that's domestication, right? Just like anything else. So humans are subject to it, but it's also, it sets up something inside of us when we take on certain behaviors like that, and we say, by being impatient, let's say, if that was a habit that we take on, then what we're saying is, I'm going to come into this situation and I am going to give myself this much. I expect it should take this long. If it takes any longer than that, I'm deciding, the people decide this ahead of time when they come into a situation, and they decide in advance that I should be able to get what I want from this situation within a minute. Maybe standing in line at the grocery store or whatever it is, right? I shouldn't have to wait. So they'll decide in ahead of time that I should only have this much time here to get what I want and get on with what I need to do. And then after that, I'm going to have a little bit of a tantrum. Maybe it's a tiny one. Maybe it's just getting annoyed, whatever it is. But it is, it's a little bit of a tantrum, but getting angry like that. So that is a process of simply wasting energy. Anytime you get impatient, anytime, and that's that example. And then coming back to the social thing, if you are conforming with other people's expectations, and you're not being your authentic self, and you're always deciding, oh, I'll just go along with what she says because I want to be accepted, and not say what I really think or really believe, that also wastes energy. That brings your energy down. You're giving your energy to the other person, right? You're letting them take control of your life rather than you being in control of your life, you taking the steering wheel and you being in charge, right? You don't have to dominate the conversation. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, by being who you really are in a conversation, you are in the driver's seat. You're in the driver. You're in control of your life. You're making the decisions for what is appropriate. And you do that with give and take, and with the other people in your life, right? So, so it's all in balance. But and then with the patience thing, coming back to that again, if you are deciding in advance that the situation should only take me 1 minute in the grocery lineup, and if after that I start losing it, my patience, then I'm giving control to the outside situation. I'm not in control, because maybe there's a little problem with the cashier register, right? They have those little issues sometimes. It's not always working. Maybe they got to switch the paper out, right, for the receipt thing, or maybe the system's not responding. It's stuck, right? We've all been there, right? So if you don't have the patience to work with that situation, you're giving away your power again. So you might be in a social situation giving away your power, or in a just a life situation like that, giving away your power. When you give away your power, you are losing your energy. You are disconnecting from your authentic self. You're limiting yourself. You're actually giving your power away to something. I'm not going to enlarge on it right now, but in Toltec terms, there's something called a parasite, which is basically something not really very well defined, but something is getting that energy, right? When you waste your energy, something else is getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing has everything to do with your shadow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your ego, right? Your shadow is very connected to this idea of what they would consider a parasite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's living off of your energy, off your taking the stealing away from your authentic self
Mm-hmm.
and giving it to your shadow
Mm-hmm.
is reinforcing negativity and pain and suffering and bad health. So the reason why I'm talking about all that is that it's so essential in the
Mm-hmm.
process of healing
Mm-hmm.
to give, like we're saying in the beginning here, you have to want it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to face up to whatever is going on
Mm-hmm.
and take it on and deal with it for what it really is and do whatever is necessary in order to overcome it. Do whatever is necessary to take the steering wheel back.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that can mean learning to develop an infinite amount of patience, not more patience, an infinite amount, right? So whatever the situation, you don't first say, and what that means is it doesn't mean you're going to stand in line forever in the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store
Mm-hmm.
before doing something. What it means is you don't walk up to the grocery store lineup
Mm-hmm.
and say in advance, only this much time before I start losing it.
Mm-hmm.
You simply go there and you do what is appropriate for whatever the situation comes up,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's only waiting the minute or whether that's waiting the 10 minutes while they fix the register.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's abandoning your cart and going home because all the registers are not working. I've had that happen once, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it may, um, so, and then in the social situation, it's
Mm-hmm.
similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it means being willing to have the courage to be who you really are with the
Okay.
people in your lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know I kind of took things off to the side there, but I want to come back to the social situation, and we'll dive into that in more examples here. But it takes courage, it takes patience, it takes ingenuity, it takes, in order to heal, it takes everything we've got. It takes, but we do, and it can be done. We have what it takes. We have everything that it takes, but it means bringing all that we've got to the table in order to fight this battle, because really it's about being a warrior, right? It's about wanting it. It's about wanting it so much that you're willing to make the hard choices, the hard decisions, take on the tough challenges, and face your friend if necessary, and say what you really believe, instead of always cutting yourself off and limiting yourself. It means, so you have to want to heal more than keeping everything like it is in your life in order to be safe, because that's what it comes down to in the end, right? We have this strong desire to keep things exactly as they are in order to be safe and accepted, that kind of thing. But that means cutting ourselves off. That means living in a mass. That means wasting our power and giving it away to, this parasite, or what our shadow self. It means giving our energy to our shadow self, which is only going to create more pain and suffering for ourselves. So that's a long-winded explanation, but I wanted to give it more context. Maybe, Satomi, you can talk a little bit about how you had to face that situation. I remember when you came out. Do you want to deal with there's a question here. So from Scott, maybe we'll talk about that first, and we'll come to that.
Okay.
So Scott, you've got your PTSD has controlled a lot of my life, the last 30 years. How do you stop that? Okay. Well, that's a complicated one, Scott. I can't address it properly, fully here right now, as you probably expect. But I can say in that you already know that I overcame PTSD, a very complicated case of it, and I had dealt with it for basically my whole life as well, up to that point. And what it took was complicated in my case. There was many aspects to it, but the fundamentals are, number one, I had to want it bad enough to, like what I'm saying here, is to be willing to do whatever it took. And then two, so that meant letting go of things, right? That means not achieving. I didn't need to achieve anything. There was nothing that I achieved. I don't claim any achievement at all. What I did was let go. So I let go of all the protections that I had created for myself. And I'm so glad you asked this question. And thanks for sending a message that this is kind of on target for you. Here it seems like. So we protect ourselves because we experience pain in our lives. The relationships we grow up around, that kind of thing, that it can be very painful. And so we put so much energy into protecting ourselves all the time as we go, especially when we go through trauma. So something can be kind of tragic in a relationship, for example, and then we want to protect ourselves from ever experiencing that again. And so we hold on for dear life to our shields. And when we do that, we're cutting ourselves off from our authentic self if we're putting all our energy into protection. We can't connect to our heart. We can't connect to our fellow humans as we truly are if we're always just protecting. And we exhaust ourselves. We run ourselves down. All our energy goes into that protection. So that becomes our shadow, is that protection. And like I'm saying, then that creates the suffering, it creates the ill health. And I think that's in line with what we previously talked about. So I think I'll shift back to where we're going to go, Satomi, with your situation, because you experienced trauma when your psychic ability came out, right? So because what happened, in case people don't know, is that you didn't even really accept psychic. This is kind of funny. You didn't.
So where are we starting? I can talk, but where you want me to start?
So when your psychic ability opened up,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't want to. You needed to be your authentic self in order to be able to function, because when it came through, it was so strong, right? And it was overwhelming you because you're receiving everything from everybody, and you didn't know how to process it. But in order to start learning how to process it and work with it, and to shut down the things that you didn't need to receive, you at all the time, right? And only open up, but you needed to be able to open up at certain times and work with it, and be able to use your ability in order to be able to master it and work with it and live with it. But that also involved opening up to the people in our lives.
Okay, so where you want me to start? Are you telling you can go ahead and tell, but you said you.
Well, I was just giving some background.
So I don't know where you want me to start, and
I don't know. Just you decide. You decide where you want to start in there.
Okay, so yeah, just lots of people know about this. All of a sudden, one day, just overnight, the world was different. When I woke up, the world was literally in pain, and then I was feeling the pain for no reason, no obviously reason. I couldn't think of anything, but it was so painful and so scary, and energy was heavy, and I had no idea what happened. Um,
You couldn't function.
and long story short, um, people told me that I just opened up, like my psychic ability got opened up, and I'm receiving so much and don't know how to deal with it. And so it was crushing me down, and this, like I wasn't uh, I wasn't functioning at all, and I was in a dark place. Like it was really hard. So that's what happened, and and that happened because I was pushing away my authentic self, which is um, my authentic self as the intuitive uh, person who can receive messages and deal with those messages. But I shut that door since I was kid all my life up to then. I was avoiding any psychic stuff, anything. I was using my intuition all my life, but um, intuition and psychic totally different things, and to me it was totally different things, and uh, I shut the door for psychic side, and I was using safe amount of intuition that doesn't affect anyone else. I was just internally using my intuition for myself, nothing for other people, right? Just for myself. I feel this way, I'm going to do it. I feel that way, I want to do it, right? So I was just keeping it to myself. But one day door got wide open. The door was I shut it, got bang wide open by the universe, and then all of a sudden I'm receiving this, and I was like, I didn't know what was going on, and so we went to reach out and found out that I'm wide open. Like, what do you mean I'm wide open? I have no idea what you're talking about. That's where I started, but but my pain was so much, and I didn't get physically sick, but mentally, emotionally, it was just crazy. It's just it was crazy.
You shut down. Like
It was,
she couldn't even get out of bed. Basically, I had to
yeah,
drag her out of bed, kicking and
you
screaming.
didn't, but
Pretty much.
it's like I was crying to get up. Like I didn't want to get
You
up.
did barely ever stopped crying.
I did. It was so painful to start the day. I was crying, and sometimes I didn't get out of bed because it's too much. And of course, I was crying in bed. And then if I decide to get out of bed, I was crying because it was too painful. So it was like that. And then again, long story short, I I knew I shouldn't keep doing like this. And I knew that there's some choices I have to make, right? To live and to become functional again, and to not just survive, but live and enjoy my life. There's some decision I have to make is accept this psychic ability that I am a psychic, and that I didn't want to accept because I stayed away all my life that I didn't like psychic people. I didn't have any respect. Like and I know there are lots of great psychic, just but I just did like
You thought it was fake.
and most of the time I thought it was fake,
Mm-hmm.
and like so I was staying away, and every situation came up, I stayed up, made sure I'm staying away from it, because it's just, I had weird feeling and I didn't like that feeling. But thinking back, why I had that feeling is I was scared to connect to the psychic ability that it was too painful to connect, so I was staying away so I don't cross the line,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but I had this, I was facing that choice. I accept my psychic ability or not accepting, so I had to keep suffering, right? So it was getting clear and clear to, because avoiding it, like I've been avoiding up to then, and open up, I kept avoiding, like, and I didn't really want to accept, but my situation, my mental health, emotional health didn't get better.
Mm-hmm.
It was going even down, and
Mm-hmm.
it was more painful, and it's just, and so I knew this, um, it I cannot keep doing this, and then so should I take this, like so I that the other choice is accept who I am, which is I'm receiving stuff like other people saying I'm more wide open and you're receiving so much, you gotta learn how to deal with this, and you are very powerful or whatever that is. It's like, am I accepting this? Right? And then, but the choice was obvious. There's only two in front of me, this or this,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not working clearly.
That one
That
is
is
this is
avoiding,
being your old self.
Yeah.
And rejecting psychic
ability.
ability.
Yeah. So this is obviously it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I tried for I don't know how many months, and still no improvement. So the one thing left is here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So okay, and then slowly I start to learn, um, how to deal with it, and then work with energy and stuff, and I start to feel a little bit lighter, and it was helping working with energy, and connecting to other people's energy kind of thing. Was it was helping. I start to feel light, and okay, I feel me coming back, right?
You
And
slowly started becoming more functional.
little more, not like a dramatically back. Hey, I'm back.
No.
Not that, but just a little bit. It was less painful to get out of bed, kind of thing. And instead of every single day a week, I was able to get up a little bit easier, 3 times a day, 3 times a week, kind of thing. Slowly it was getting better. And then I was getting more comfortable connecting to energy, and then connecting to other people's energy, so I can read and I can give them feedback and some messages. And then they receive messages and they can use those messages to improve their lives situations, right? And when I did that, all the energy, all the weight came off of me, and I literally felt, I feel like I'm being me, right? And that was right after a reading session I was practicing with someone, and I feel so light. I haven't felt this light for a long time. I don't remember when is the last time, and I feel like I'm being me. And that was really shocking when I do this energy exchange by reading. Hey, I didn't know who I was, but I know who I am right now. This is me, right? So connecting to other people's energy is connecting to myself, my authentic self. And then I was feeling lighter and I was feeling happier and I was smiling that I didn't smile for a long, long, long time. And the smile just came out, right? So that happened. Okay, so this is really important that I'm using this ability that it was given to me, and so I can be my authentic self. Right? So that was clear, and then but the next step is um, coming out as a I'm psychic. Right? That was really tough, and this is the part that you talk using the word sacrificing, because like we live in this city. It's like every corner of the town there's a church, right? Christian church. You go to any corner, you find a church. Right?
It's almost.
Almost. It's like it's so. I googled it one time. It's like a 1,500 or more churches in this.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've just lived in it.
Yeah, it's so many churches.
Wow.
And I'm not saying anything bad, but
No, those wonderful things.
But being a psychic and then having Christian friends and kids best friends are all Christian, like they go to church every Sunday, right?
Our kids.
Our kids.
Yeah. At the time, they're early mid-teens. Yeah. So very important social development period for the kids.
Yeah.
And their friends were like
the best friends or the closest friends.
And a bunch of our friends.
Or like Christian and they
very much so. Very committed Christians, which is great.
Yeah. But we
didn't know how that was going to go.
Yeah. So I'm not saying all the Christians don't like psychic people. I'm not saying that, but I didn't know they feel comfortable or not. Some are comfortable, some are not at all. And when they're not at all, that can be hard. Right? And so like okay, I'm comfortable being who I am within me. So, but I cannot just keep it to myself. Like I kept it, my intuition kept it myself for all my life, and then I hit the wall because the universe was saying I gotta open up and I gotta spread this, right, my wings. And so you can be with other people being this way, right? So first step, I learned how to deal with my psychic ability, and
you had to accept it for yourself first.
Yeah, because I have my own judgment for psychic, right? And that was hard, but I overcame, and then now that's the outside world, how I'm gonna deal with people who might judge, and it could affect kids' friendship, and that was the hard part. If it's just me, okay, who cares? If I don't,
not so much who cares, but
kids was the.
That was much harder.
If it's just me and no kids, I've done this in my life. Like if the friendship and relationship is a true thing, they would stay. If it's not true, if it's fake or it's just whatever, just on the surface, they leave, but I don't need those people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've gone through that already before this situation came. So I knew, like, it's not whatever, but I know deep down I can deal with it and I can create a new relationship, and that was fine. But for kids, do I have to have them go through some hardship? And like some parents say, no, don't play with them anymore because it's not good. And all of a sudden, no no explanation, and they are to get split.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That I was worried about that,
Mm-hmm.
and for a long time, I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But and when I'm holding myself back, and then I could feel my energy, like I'm disempowering myself.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped feeling, hey, this is me, right? That feeling that I had that moment was fading away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is not good. Yeah, it's disempowering myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to face this one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have to come out, and that I don't have to come out like to tell everyone, hey, I need to tell you something. It's not that, but just being comfortable and present myself instead of hiding myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was really, really hard. But I came to the point, okay, I'm ready to face it, and I'm ready to take action, and I can I can trust the process, and then it's going to be okay. If some friends left, it's okay. We can find new friends. And if they don't, that's awesome. But if they left, that's what it is. And I'll support my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
No hard feelings to people who don't don't appreciate it, but
yeah, but it took time for me to be ready
mm-hmm.
to, like, the word, if you the word you're using, want. I want what I wanted as me being healthy, mentally, physically, authentically healthy person. I wanted to be that way, and I could feel that I was going away from it. So it took many steps to get to I really want it, and then let go of this fear of losing friends,
Mm-hmm.
fear of kids losing friends, fear of people judging us, fear of like even like I had some picture like that there's a witch in this house and burn the house, burn it all, kind of thing. That came in from old, I don't know how many 100 years ago, or 1,000 or whatever. That came into my head, but it's okay. This is just the illusion, and that hasn't happened. I haven't done anything, right? I don't have to fear this. The creation I'm just creating, imagining in my head, right? So I'm ready to face it and take whatever happens, accept whatever happens, because I trust connecting to my authentic self is that the answer, right? So yeah, it took a long time, but I did it. And guess what? We didn't lose anyone.
I know it was such a wonderful
Yeah,
way the way it turned out, right?
yeah. I was hoping that those friends and parents, they are wonderful people, and I was doubting they're gonna turn around and do something weird, but still, I didn't know, right? So I was scared, but some fear that I didn't need to have. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that fear is not bad, right? And it's just keep give us some lessons and something, some time to think. Unless you're not stuck there,
Mm-hmm.
you can process, you can think and process and find. Okay, I'm feeling fear here. How about here? How about here? How about you can find different paths
Mm-hmm.
or face that fear and go
Mm-hmm.
that path, right? But yeah, so that's something. It, like I said, it took long time for me to
Mm-hmm.
want that. That one was big. Other ones, sometimes it's quick. I know what I want. Usually it's me. I know what I want. I'm
Yeah.
just going to do it, right?
Yeah.
I want a
So.
haircut. I'm going to cut. That's what happened yesterday. Nobody's stopping me. I'm doing it.
So it's not just that it was hard,
Mm-hmm.
it was very hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not always like this, but it can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to heal, we have to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be prepared to possibly or to do whatever it takes is really what it comes down to,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And that means sometimes doing things that take courage and what's a better word than sacrifice than
Letting go.
letting go. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to be willing to let go of what we're holding on to. Like I was saying in the beginning, that we cling to everything, right? We have to have everything the same because that's what makes us feel safe. Now it's just just a basic human psychological thing. Even when we're little kids, we have to have our little blanket, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's everybody in all the relationships we have in our lives tend to be like security blankets.
Mm-hmm.
And all those other things that we do in our lives are like security blankets, those things that keep us feeling safe.
Mm-hmm.
Those security blankets are not helping us grow up, right? And that's what we need to let go of,
Mm-hmm.
as hard as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to come back to something Scott said here earlier, that he's felt he's in the same situation with being an empath. He's opened up and he's having to learn how to fix himself so that he can use it properly. And our heart goes out to you, Scott, for dealing with that, because that can be so hard. Just as we were talking about the Satomi situation, and it's going to have some manifestation in your life that can be. We know a lot of people who feel that connection to their psychic self. And like Satomi said, the first step was for her to accept it for herself. Many people who have that coming through, they're not prepared to do that. They're just scared. They're scared of what it means, because it means redefining our the relationship to ourselves. It means that we don't know where it could go, right? When we actually embrace something, it has like this possibility of it's going to open us up, but we're scared. We can be really. It's instinctive for us to be scared of what we can open ourselves up to.
Yeah, because
right?
it's unknown.
It's unknown, and that could be, if it's something unknown, we can't control it, and then that's where fear comes in, and that's a limitation, right? So that stuff is very, very hard. And Scott, you're saying here there's the depression you're dealing with from accepting that I think you mean accepting, as in accepting yourself as an empath, and that our heart goes out to you with that as well. It can be very difficult. There can be so many aspects to it. Depression can be one. And Satomi, we could say that you went through a long period of what many people would say is depression.
Mm-hmm.
And while
yeah.
you're going through what we were
Yeah,
talking about, that story had
I
depression
knew,
in it,
like
right?
I was thinking when I was in bed and just crying and doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to doctor right now, I can be diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and social anxiety, or whatever, all sort of things, and
Yeah.
they would give me lots of different medications. But
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not the way I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed in bed. but yeah, I can say that depression would be one, a big time,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting over the depression you get from accepting that you are an empath. I can I think I understand what you're saying. It's hard to accept. It was hard to accept. Um, not just that I'm an empath, because what I'm receiving was hard. It was just so overwhelming. So accepting meant that I'm gonna accept all those things forever. Right? I'm gonna keep receiving those
Well,
things
yeah,
forever.
that's a very important point. I don't think we
Right?
talked about
Yeah.
that exactly.
So it's not just accepting that I'm an empath, just a word or just the group of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
That it's not that if I accept means this is coming along with me for the rest of my life. I don't think so. So that was
Because you were receiving my pain that I was carrying. You were receiving that.
Mm-hmm.
You're receiving pain from the rest of our family. You're receiving it from the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
You're receiving it from the neighbors' neighbors.
Or just from the other side of the world.
Yeah, you're
Right.
receiving pain from all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was overwhelming to you. So if you're going to accept being an empath, being a psychic, that meant a lifetime sentence of receiving that. Yeah, who wants that?
Yeah.
Right?
So if
no, thank you.
If that's what you mean, I understand.
Yeah.
But then what I discovered is
yeah, that's what he's talking about exactly.
Have a hard time going to the store because I pick up what. Yeah. Yes, I understand. And then I'll answer that question, how I overcame that. I still stay away from going to the store as much as I can, because it's not really comfortable, but I'm okay. I'm not terrified going to the store like before. What I did was, it just came to my mind one day. Of course, everybody have feelings. Right? I'm receiving everybody's feelings and I'm feeling overwhelmed, but of course everybody have feelings. I have feelings, other people have feelings, and I cannot ask everybody not to have feelings. So yeah, of course, right? So that I just realized that, and then I don't have to take on those feelings. Those are their feelings, and they can stay there, right? I recognize that everybody's having feelings and some upset and negative feelings. I recognize them, and it's okay for them to have those feelings. It's not actually attacking me. They're just having feelings and I'm feeling them, but it's okay. Okay, I got it. And no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not dealing with those ones. Right? I somehow, when I realized that, I felt a little bit easier going to the store. I don't know if that's gonna help you, but try something like that and it might help. Just recognize it and then okay, but no, thank you. Right? Yeah. So anyway, what we were talking about, we're gonna wrap up soon.
Yeah. So I think we kind of covered it actually. So just
really wanting.
Yeah, just to tie it back to where we started, is that this process of healing doesn't have to be so hard. It generally has some sort of effort, but it's a wide open amount, I guess. And frequently there's things that come up with people that we work with clients, with ourselves, where it means letting go of something that we never thought of letting go before in our lives. We never thought of, embracing being a psychic, right? You never thought of coming out as being a psychic.
Last thing I
right?
would pick, if there was a list, what would you pick to get out of this situation? Oh, I'll pick this. I pick this. I wouldn't pick psychic.
Yeah.
That would be the last
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
One of the last ones,
Yeah.
right? But that's why.
And we didn't know what it was to begin with, right?
Yeah,
So,
I
like
didn't
you said, picking from the list is valid, right?
Yeah.
So, that difficulty takes on different forms for everybody, but what is in common is that it's those things that it's all about letting go in the end. And those things that we're letting go of are our protective shields or masks, as we were talking about in the beginning.
Served you in the
Same
past.
thing.
Served you in the past, protect you in the past, but it's not serving you anymore.
Right.
And it's blocking you to be your authentic self.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong there's no judgment with the relationship you had with a friend who would not accept you as your authentic self, because that friendship has served some purpose in your life, has helped in some ways, but at a certain point, it may become an impediment to you healing, right? For each one of us to heal. And the thing is that, as you said, when we let go of something that is standing between us and our authentic self, standing between us and healing, when we let go of a relationship like that, always other relationships come in on the other side of that. So if we're hanging on to just keeping hold of the old self, then we're keeping hold of the pain and the limitation that goes with it. If we let go, we're kind of we're taking this risk. We're like, oh my God, right? Like, now I don't have that person, and they've been such a important part of my life. Now it creates the space in your life, and what you're doing by being your authentic self, you're going to attract people who respond to you being your authentic self, and they're going to appreciate you for that, and that empowers you more. So it's like you mentioned earlier correctly, that sacrifice is not the right word. I use that word, but it's also kind of fortunate I did, because that's what it looks like. The reality of it is that it's a transition. It's an evolution. It's a letting go of something, but there's something on the other side waiting for you, and that not just relationships that reward you and enhance your life like they never have before, but also healing is on the other side. Healing, like real healing, and just being who you really are, and living and embodying the potential of who you are, your true power, that's on the other side, right? So that's why it's so important and so rewarding to bring everything we've got to the table when we're engaging in healing. Everything and we're talked a lot about social sacrifice and that kind of thing in this social relationship and acceptance and all that kind of stuff. Like I was saying earlier, that's just one example. We could talk about 1,000 different ways in which it's necessary to bring your all to this endeavor. So it means problem solving. It means patience. It means courage. It means resilience, because there's ups and downs to this, and there's periods where it's like confusing and just rough, but those periods pass, and there's so much to this, but it requires everything in us in order to move forward and be who we really are and heal. And that is, and I mentioned Toltec stuff just a little bit. It really comes down to being a warrior. It comes down to being not a soldier. That's very different. A warrior is someone who gives their whole spirit to this, everything they've got within them, and uses every aspect of themselves in order to achieve that goal, that the victory of in this case as a spiritual warrior, of being your authentic self and healing, right? So yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's don't have an exercise today because we're well over time. We're sorry about that, but we'll be so thank you for joining us today. If you're having any troubles with this, it's because of subconscious limitations. You can schedule a breakthrough session. Just come to our website, right to the address right there. Schedule a free session with us. We'll talk about what it is that it seems to be standing between you and where you want to be, healing, whatever, or creating, achieving your life goals. And also, please subscribe, like, share, and we will see you next Sunday right here on Aether at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for stopping by, and bless you. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.